Hey guys, today I welcome Andy Erwin. Andy is the host of the Storytellers podcast. He's the chief creative officer at Kingdom Story Company. They've produced films like I Can Only Imagine, Jesus Revolution, Unsung Hero, and others. Andy, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Yeah, Carl, it's always good to be with you, buddy. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you, man. So tell me about Storytellers podcast. You guys just wrapped
Yeah,
season 1, going into season 2, right?
yeah. Season one wrapped earlier this summer, and we had a blast. I grew up with my dad in talk radio, so the idea of being able to go back and do it was a lot of fun. Kind of with the whole podcasting thing. The premise for it was that we wanted to have a conversation with our audience and let them kind of be behind closed doors with some of the people that we get to work with. And so we're not super interesting, but we got a lot of cool friends. So we just kind of let people have a chance to kind of peer behind the curtain. And season one was amazing. We had Dennis Quaid and Patricia Heaton and Randa Wallace, so many people. That was a blast. And so this year on the Storytellers, or this season, we just launched on Tuesday. We had Gary Sinise as our first guest that everybody knows as Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. And now Zachary Levi is going to be our guest next week. So we're every Tuesday, new episode comes out. It's a blast.
So I saw an email from you guys today where you're sitting on the Forrest Gump bench with Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
Was that the actual bench, or did you stage that?
Yeah, no. So at the end of Forrest Gump, the director, Robert Zemeckis, sent a replica bench to Tom Hanks, to Gary Sinise, to Robin Wright Penn, and maybe Sally Field. And so each of them got their own Forrest Gump bench that was a complete replica. And so Gary's got it set up in his office with the backdrop and everything. So I held the suitcase, he held the box of chocolates.
Nice, awesome. All right, so talk to me about how you guys find the stories that you tell at Kingdom. How do you make decisions on what films you guys do next?
Yeah, Carl, I mean, the good stories really kind of find us. We're not that smart. And so, after I Can Only Imagine, when we started Kingdom Story Company, it became overwhelming, the amount of stories that kind of start getting pitched to us. So, but the ones that really kind of capture us on a soul level, that it's like, that's a story that, as an audience, we're the first audience, would be like, I want to watch that. Those are the ones that we chase. And so this movie Whitebird is one of those. And, when I saw the movie Wonder in theaters about 6 years ago with Julia Roberts, I was so moved by it that I was like, if we could ever be a part of something like that, I would jump at it. And I didn't know they were developing at Lionsgate the spinoff.
Yeah.
And so the story, as we kind of looked into it and looked under the hood, it's so powerful. So, usually they just find us.
Yeah, I saw a screening of it. Great movie. You guys did a great job with it. So how do you define, you guys were really instrumental, the Kendrick guys and others lately, that has really taken Christian filmmaking, kind of faith-based into a very good quality step forward that can really compete in the space. Great actors, great quality. So how do you guys define quality when it comes to filmmaking? How do you know that production value is high or low, or how do you guys kind of determine that?
The audience always kind of lets us know if we're on the mark. Until we get the response we need to from the test audience, we don't quit. And so we say, quality is something we always chase. It's not something we ever catch. We just try to get a little bit better each time. I think what you found is when we stepped into, when all of us, whether it's us or the Kendricks or Dallas Jenkins or Devon Franklin or, all those guys, when we started out around the same time 15 years ago, the reason why it felt cheesy at first, and we all had our fair share of cheese, was because as Christians, we had stepped out of the filmmaking arena for 35 years. And it wasn't until Mel Gibson comes along with The Passion of the Christ in 2004 and says, this is a story we want to tell. We were like, maybe we need to be doing the same thing, but none of us really knew how to do it. And so we learned by trial and error how to communicate with an audience. And I think what you're seeing now is a combination of multiple things. You've got a group of seasoned filmmakers that know why the stories they want to tell and how they want to tell them. You've got a studio in Lionsgate and other ones like Lionsgate that are putting their dollars behind it and giving us legitimate money to go after and tell our stories. And then you've got an audience that's realizing more and more the power of their ticket. And every time
Yes.
they buy a movie theater ticket and they go to movie theaters to see a film, then the studios say, we're going to give you that dollar to make another movie. And so it's just
Yeah.
multiplying it. And it's just this interesting synergistic moment in time for faith film.
And I've also noticed the quality of actor. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned Dennis Quaid and people that you've had on the podcast, Zachary Levi, Patricia Heaton, others that are really elevating the storytelling, so
Yeah.
that you have the production quality along with great acting. That I
Yeah.
think with those two things, we kind of start eliminating some of the cheese
Yeah.
factor along the way. So all right. If you were talking to ministry leaders, how important is their visual media when it comes to communicating the gospel? So you guys are really in the filmmaking realm. Bring that into the church space some. How important,
Yeah.
why do your visuals matter when it comes to communicating the gospel?
I think that we're such a visual society now. And so I think that, whether it's, we started our whole career doing videos like that, like short form videos for the church, and trying to find ways to kind of enhance and communicate the story and the message. I do think that there's something powerful about emotional storytelling, whether it's in 2 hours or 2 minutes. And when
Mm-hmm.
you can find a way to tell the story in a way that moves the audience emotionally, we call it emotional jamming. If I can jam a wedge between your heart and your head and I can make you feel something, then your defenses go down and you'll listen to what I have to say. And so Jesus used that through parables. We use it through movies. I don't care if it's, what kind of video it is. If you can move me emotionally, I'll listen. And I think right now in the church, that's desperately needed.
Should we use more visuals in the church?
I mean, I'm a biased audience.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm always going to say
Yeah,
yes to that one,
yeah.
Carl.
Me too.
Uh, but, but yes, I think that there is something all encompassing. I don't think it's ever meant to replace really good preaching. I think that is
Yes, good.
the word of God is king.
Yep.
But if it's there to enhance, you look at how Jesus used parables and he used teaching. And parables in his storytelling, he would tell something that didn't answer all the questions, but it would move the audience emotionally. They would be connected, whether it was through, empathy or curiosity or, or emotion. And then they would come back to him and say, tell us the rest of the story. And then Jesus would sit
Right.
there and teach. I think the visual aspect of storytelling is that parable aspect that Jesus did. I think if Jesus lived now, he probably would have been having a lot of videos to go along with his parables.
Hmm.
And I think that, even when, the moment when the Pharisees confronted him, he sat down and he drew in the sand, as he was, answering their question. I think he would have been creative in that regard. And I think, the message we hold is sacred. It never changes. The gospel never changes, but the mechanism of delivery is constantly changing. So you look at like when the printing press was made, first thing printed was the Gutenberg Bible. You look at the radio when that was, invented, and the amount of evangelists that used that for years.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's visual, and I think there's an opportunity there for the gospel.
Good. All right, you guys have a couple of things coming up. You got season 2 of your podcast. You got Whitebird, and you got Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Right? That's in your
Yeah.
kind of family of. You want to talk about some of those?
Yeah. Both are really amazing films. Whitebird, like I said, is a spinoff from Wonder. And it's this character that in the first movie was a bully, comes home to, he's been expelled from school, and his grandmother is visiting from France. And his grandmother is played by Helen Mirren, who's an Oscar-winning actress, an amazing human being. And she just says, "You don't know
Great,
your
great get,
history."
by the way. Excellent
Oh,
get.
that has a lot more to do with the director, Mark Forster, than any of us. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing to have her on board. And she retraces her history, of being a Jewish girl during Nazi occupied France in World War II. And this one little boy that stepped in and with great courage saved her life. And the story is just about the power of kindness, but kindness with courage. If the
Yeah.
first movie of Wonder is about kindness, this movie is about courage.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful story. That comes out October 4th. And then Best Christmas Pageant Ever, based on the beloved Christmas novel. Dallas Jenkins from The Chosen has read that story to his kids every year for about 17 years.
Yeah.
And so it was his passion project. He wanted to do it. And he created a story that is the most charming Christmas movie I've seen since Elf. And the gospel is loud and clear. And so
Yeah.
that one comes out in early November. So two films I'm really, really proud of, and so grateful to Lionsgate letting us tell stories like this. And every time the audience shows up and votes with their ticket, we get to make more.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, you guys are doing such a great job for the kingdom. Season 2 of the Storytellers podcast available wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
So, Andy, man, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you so much.
Carl, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for what you do.
This has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals, executive produced by Carl Barnhill, edited by AJ Schubert, title and show graphics by Angie Lomas. For more resources to help you visually communicate the gospel, visit churchvisuals.com.